Good morning. How are you all? Janine Garner here. As you can see, I'm in transit at the moment. I'm actually in Melbourne, and I've got a beautiful view out of my room here. I can see Albert Park, which is where the Formula One race around. It's a little bit of a grey day, but I'm here to deliver a keynote later today to a group of mortgage brokers. But the reason I'm jumping on is I've just got off a monthly mastermind session with my Elevate mastermind group, and we had as our guest today the incredible Lynn Casale, and we were talking about perfectionism and how perfectionism actually gets in our way. In fact, it's a thing that stops us. If we get caught in perfectionism, it's the very thing that actually self-sabotages our growth, because actually what happens with perfectionism, you don't go to market, you don't launch, you don't put that thing out there, you don't do the very thing that you need to do to move forward, and so that self-sabotage stops you from actually making any progress whatsoever. And I'm curious, if you're listening to this live, I'd love you to comment. If you're watching this on replay, just put replay in the comments and let me know. I'm curious, where does perfectionism get in your way? What does it stop you doing? What is the very thing that at this moment in time you should be working on to launch, to create, to get to market, but your own perfectionism is actually getting in the way and it's stopping you? And Lynn shared with us, or she asked the question, what does done look like? Just think about that for a second. What does done look like? Now, what she shared with us today is that there's actually 3 types of perfectionism. I never even knew this, and these types are actually on the increase. There's type 1 is that the perfectionism is self-oriented. This is where we're holding ourselves to high standards. So I'm wondering if that's you. If it is, yep, put in the comments, that's me. I'm type 1. The other one she shared, type 2, is that it's socially prescribed. I.e. a perception that we have that others are holding us to high standards. Isn't that curious? So type 2 is a social level of perfectionism. It's socially prescribed, where we perceive that others are holding us to a high standard. And level number 3, or type number 3, is when it becomes other oriented, and this is where we actually place high standards on others. So I'm curious, in the chat, are you 1, 2, or 3? Are you when we talk about or think about perfectionism, is it you're holding yourself? Number 1, it's it's a self-oriented. Number 2, is it social oriented? So your perception that others are holding you accountable, or is it not, or holding you to high standards? Or number 3, is it others oriented, in that you are holding people to high standards? I'm curious as to which one of those 3 it is. And we pretty much finished this masterclass session talking about some strategies for overcoming procrastination. And the one that I just wanted to jump on here live with and share was this concept that actually every single bit of research you look at shows that increased effort does not actually equal reward. The more effort we put in doesn't necessarily make it any better. And actually what we've got to do is to start embracing this word satisficing, which essentially is about going for good enough. It's this combination of being satisfactory with suffice. So satisficing. And I'm curious today, if you start embracing this word satisficing, what would it mean for you? How could you move quicker to completing something? How could you actually get to that point of done is good enough? She gave us 4 key tips when it comes to satisficing, which I'm sharing here. 1 is accept good enough. 2 is not overly obsess about too many options. 3, move on after deciding. And 4, be happy with the outcome. So I'll leave that with you today. I want you to get curious about just take some time to think about how perfectionism is actually stopping your progress, how actually perfectionism is self-sabotaging your ability to unlock your visibility in the marketplace, to unlock profit, to unlock those conversations that you need to have to grow your customer or grow your client base. How potentially perfectionism is stopping you doing the very thing that you need to do to actually get momentum in your business. I want you to get curious about that. Number two, I want you to think about where done is good enough. What is your definition of done with a particular project that you're working on right now? And number three, I want to challenge you to embrace satisficing as the word. Instead of procrastination, we are going to start satisficing. And this is this concept of accepting good enough, of not obsessing over too many options, of moving on after your decision, and finally, of being happier with the outcomes. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have an absolutely awesome day, and I'll catch up with you later.